Okay, everybody, I'm going to fire up the good old-fashioned webinar, and great to see so many people signed up to be part of this workshop. It's more of a workshop than a webinar. Thanks to everybody who's chiming in the chat. We're going to give some time for people to get into the workshop space today. It's really interesting. I was just saying in the chat room, the weather here is absolutely, it's sunny, then gray, then windy, but it's windy completely. There is a chance, there's a big wind warning, and there's power out in a bunch of places in and around Victoria, BC. So if the wind goes too crazy and I drop, that's why. I just want to let you know. Hey, good to see everybody there. Zoe, good to see you. We got Caress in there. We've got Nan. Good to see you. Justin is in the chat. Joe. We've got Rick. Bo. It's pronounced Bo. I'm assuming. Kelly. Ken from Ottawa. Joyce is here. Great. So many people joining us here in this workshop. I'm really excited to bring this to you today. It is the first of what I'm going to be delivering in terms of workshops. Usually, they're paid workshops, but for Time Crafting Trust members, it's completely free, and well, it's included in your membership. And I decided, as a token of appreciation, it is Thanksgiving month here in Canada after all. Yes, in fact, yesterday was Thanksgiving. That members of that are subscribed to my newsletter also had access to this workshop for free. But future workshops are going to cost $18. And you get resources, and you'll get the recordings and all that stuff, all the stuff that comes with workshops. So this is just a sample of what you can expect going forward. We're going to take an hour today to go through this. And again, you'll have access to all of the resources. If you registered, you would have had to go through Podia to register for this anyway. So all of the resources that you were provided in advance, they are there for you. And you'll have access to them as long as the workshop is alive. And I have no intention of shutting down this workshop. If anything, I'll evolve it over the years and years. So I'm excited to see where this will take us over the next hour or so. I have a poll in there right now, and it's asking if you use daily themes at all. And if you haven't answered the poll yet, then please do. It's just a simple, quick yes or no, or I have no idea what you're talking about, Mike, when it comes to daily themes. If you could answer that, that would be great for those of you that are just joining now. And the reason I'm asking that is that way you have some familiarity with time theming, which is actually not what we're going to be talking about necessarily today. But I just want to get a sense of how familiar you are with it, whether or not you use them. And it's kind of what I expected it to be. It's mostly, largely no's. There is some people that are saying yes. And for those who don't know what daily themes are, I've talked about this before on the blog. I've talked about it on my podcast. But basically, daily themes are giving you an overarching focus for your day. So, yeah, and I think I was being very absolute in saying yes. And that means if you use it at all, then one day would be fine. Then I would say yes. And if you don't use it at all, then I would say no. And I think for those of you that have tried it and it hasn't worked, this workshop is going to be particularly beneficial to you. And for those of you that are using it, this is just going to be an additional weapon in your arsenal that you can use to win the day. All right, so let's get into it. I know we've got a bunch of people that I'm expecting to see in. We've got a lot of people registered, but I also want to be respectful of everybody's time. So let's get started. I'm going to go with and I want to make sure that you can see me as well. If you can see my slides full screen, let me know. Just say in the chat, yes, the slides are big. I can see them fully. Okay, perfect. Because Webinar Ninja can be, yes, slides big. Thanks. All right, awesome. So this workshop is called Control Your Clock. And I have to say that the reason I'm calling this a workshop is they're in Cyrillic, though. That's interesting. Dean, good one. You never know. The reason I'm calling this a workshop is you're going to be doing things during this workshop. It's not actually going to be, just something you sit back and relax and enjoy the webinar. It's going to be something that you actively participate in. I'm going to turn on my stopwatch too, just to make sure that I time this accordingly. So what I want to get to out of the gate first is, if you have the workshop resources that I placed inside of the product in Podia, please say, yes, I've got them. Yes, I've got them. Just say yes, yes, yes. If you have them printed, even better, but that's great. If you've done work on them in advance, even better. But I'm going to refer to them as we go through it. Now, if you didn't get a chance to work on them before the webinar, before the workshop rather, that's okay. That's okay. But it would, ideally, now that you've got them and you're looking at them, I would like you to be able to use them either during this workshop, or take after we're done the workshop, say, hey, you know what, I'm able to figure out some of the stuff that Mike's talking about now, and now I can kind of caress, massage, craft, control my clock, my daily schedule a little bit more. So I don't know if you noticed this before when we started. How many of you noticed that I was wearing blue when, and you can, if you can still see me, I don't know that you can, but I'm wearing a Blue Jays shirt. Now the Podia web link I'll link to that a little bit. I'm wearing a Toronto Blue Jays jersey, and there's a reason for that. We're gonna talk a little bit about sports. Did I lose a bet? No, I did not. But I will talk about the team that is still in the playoffs that I've stopped following in a little bit. I've got a Toronto Blue Jays jersey on, and what I want to get to in this workshop is I'm going to bring up some ideals in sports, in baseball, that are going to help you with controlling your clock. I ask you to bear with me as I get through those, because some of you may not be following baseball, you may not be sports fans, but you're going to see as I explain this how this works. Okay. We're going to be having some time to do some interactions in the chat. If you have questions, please put them in the questions area, as always. And of course, there's going to be near the tail end, I'm going to offer you something that you can use to help you even take greater control of your clock and win your day. So here's the thing. Time moves on whether we want it to or not. No matter what we do, time moves on. That's why I'm not a huge fan of the idea time management. Management has this thought that we can kind of encapsulate and keep it. I would prefer to use the term like time leadership. But the problem is that when we are facing a day like today, for example, where I had 2 podcast interviews earlier in the day, my kids were off to school. There's a dynamic element to the day, which explains why, when I look at the poll results, that over 60% of you don't use daily themes, because you're like, look, the day's too dynamic. The day is moving so quickly. I can't give a day an overarching focus. I can't give it a theme. It won't work for me. Moving on to how I know this to be true. And what's interesting is I want to take an experiment with you right now. I want to look at how much we take for granted the amount of time and how it moves on, and not only that, but how much time we actually don't realize goes by in 60 seconds. So I want you right now, we're all going to do this, is we're going to take 60 seconds, and I want you to pledge, say you're willing to do this, say yes, yes, yes. We're going to take 60 seconds and do nothing. We're just going to let 60 seconds pass. And at the end, we're going to talk about what that felt like. All right, so here we go. 60 seconds starting now. Okay, that was 60 seconds. Now, how did that feel? In the chat, let me know how that felt. Did it feel long? Did it feel somewhat uncomfortable? Yeah, longer than expected. Like 20 minutes you wanted to do things. That was a ton of time. Yes. It's crazy. I've just started to meditate recently. It's one of the things I'm doing this month. And when I first started, I was doing 5 minutes. And then eventually, as I did it, it felt like it was hardly any time at all. I'm now up to, after doing it for a week, I'm working at this more and more. My most recent session was 20 minutes, and it felt more like 10. I mean, honestly, when I went through it, but there were moments where it felt like, because you're not supposed to do, you're supposed to breathe, you're supposed to focus. And I could feel things coming in and out. If you've ever practiced meditation, you know this to be true. It's very tough, as Ken says, to do nothing, to do nothing during a 60-second period. But here's the thing, is that there's a minute. If we calculate what a minute is versus a moment, 1 minute is 60 seconds, but a moment is a brief, indeterminate period of time. We don't really think about minutes of time. We think about moments of time. Often we'll think about, for example, the time that I went to see the Toronto Blue Jays play baseball was it last year? I think last September I went and saw them. And I can't tell you how long the game was. I can't tell you anything but the moment of when the manager was given a standing ovation at the end of the game. That was a moment. Spending time with my nephew was a moment. We tend to remember things qualitatively in these terms of moments. We don't really craft memories and control minutes, but we can control what happens in a moment. We can determine it. There's lots of elements that we can control. If you've read the book, there's this book called The Power of Moments by Chip and Dan Heath, and they talk about the power of moments. And moments have power. And that's where you can start to control your clock, because inside of that minute could be a moment. It could be 2 moments. It could be 3 moments. Dean cheated. He did back stretches. That was a moment of time within the moment of a minute. And no matter what, during that 60 seconds, and when I do this live, by the way, when I do this in front of people, I actually start moving at about the 35-second mark, and people think it's almost done. Like I can actually, and I've done this before. You were giving me the grace of a minute, but I've actually done it in 30 seconds because 60 seconds is a long time to sit during a online presentation and do nothing, right? So it's very, very interesting to do nothing for that period of time, and it feels way longer. But let's get back to the baseball. Let's get back to the baseball now. I just said baseball is one of the only games that I can think of, one of the only main professional sports where time is not as big a construct as it is in other sports. In hockey, which is, the National Hockey League, got to talk about hockey, I'm Canadian, each period is 20 minutes, right? In basketball, each quarter has a set time period. In football, each quarter has a set period. In football, where Leicester City and Liverpool, those have a determinate amount of time. But baseball, games can last for hours, well beyond the time we want them to, or they can be really short. Innings, which is if you're not a baseball fan, innings are a series where each team has they're either at the plate batting or they're on the field defending. And once 3 outs happen, they switch sides, right? Each inning of baseball, as Dean says, can be excruciatingly long, or they can be painfully short if you're not a fan, if you're a fan of the team that's supposed to be extending the inning by scoring. And that's the interesting thing, is a baseball game it takes place, it's an event. It's a moment. It's an indeterminate period of time. Now I'm a lefty. Cricket, I don't know enough about cricket, so I couldn't tell you if it's going to be similar, Carl, but I'm a left-hander. And I am a fan of baseball. I've actually played baseball as a kid. Okay, and I'm a lefty. How many of you are lefties that are watching this right now? If you're a left-hander, just say yep or yeah. I'm a lefty, and so one of the things that I wanted to do was pitch. Left-handers have a unique advantage as a pitcher against a left-handed batter because it's harder for them to deal with it, right? A lefty. So I would look at the guys like Jimmy Key, who's the pitcher that's pictured there on the slide. And he was like the best left-handed pitcher that the Blue Jays have, I would say, ever had. And he was one of the best left-handed pitchers at the time in baseball. But there's another guy pictured there. If you take a look, the guy wearing the gray jersey looking like he's fielding, that's John Olerud. John Olerud is a first baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays. Was a first baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays. He also played for the Seattle Mariners, New York Mets, and I believe he played for the Yankees as well. But he wasn't just a first baseman when he came out of college. As a matter of fact, he was a pitcher. The College Baseball Award is still called the John Olerud Award because he was able to play two positions, pitching and fielding. I want to get to talk about pitching now because when you're a pitcher, you have to deal with the strike zone. If you've ever watched baseball, you know that there's a strike zone, and here is the elements of the strike zone. It's a very small box that the umpire gets to decide with this framework in mind, what is a strike and what is not a strike. 3 strikes, the batter's out. 4 balls, the batter takes his base. The other option is the batter hits the ball. Could be that's really what happens, okay? When a pitcher pitches, they want to have control. And to have control over one's pitches means that a pitcher is able to throw strikes. So again, think of this, the strike zone, as the clock. Think of it as this is the framework where the pitcher has the opportunity to get the batter out. If the batter didn't swing at a pitch and the umpire called the strike zone, then the pitcher would have the ability to get that batter out. To have control over one's pitches means that a pitcher is able to throw strikes. This is control. The batters in a baseball game, they're your chaos. You're going to be facing different things all the time, every single day. Some batters in baseball hit left, some batters hit right, some batters switch hit, so you don't know which side of the plate they're going to sit on. Some batters are power hitters, some batters will bunt, some batters are speedy. You don't know. That's exactly what a pitcher faces. They have an idea. They may have watched some tape, but in that moment, they don't know necessarily what the batter is going to do. They can guess, they can plan for it, but they don't necessarily know. And the batters are your chaos as well. They're your chaos. The strike zone, as I said, is your clock. So, what does a pitcher need to make sure that they throw strikes? And not only throw strikes, but be able to deal with the chaos of the batters that may hit different kinds of pitches and such. Well, a pitcher needs to have a series of pitches. And here's a bunch of different pitches. And you can see just subtle differences, if you're looking at this, subtle differences between the pitches, right? There's a 4-seam fastball, a splitter, a cutter, a change. How the pitcher grips the ball has a great deal to do with how the ball crosses the plate. And the ability to control your pitches means you're going to get them in the strike zone. So it's not enough just to know these grips, but you have to be able to control your pitches so that they go into the strike zone. Because if they're in the strike zone, whether the batter swings at them or not, it's going to be a strike. So what do you need? What do you need? You need modes. Modes are your pitches. And I've talked about these before, but I haven't focused on them in this realm nearly as much, especially not in a workshop setting. I've mostly focused on journaling or theming your time. But at the end of the day, when I look at, and this is why I asked you this question, when 56% of you are saying that you don't use daily themes, it tells me that you're playing the game, but you don't necessarily know what the game's going to throw at you, right? So you've got your day. You're like, the day is too dynamic. I can't theme my day. What can I do? Well, what you would normally do is you'd go down your list and you'd say, well, what's due today? What's the highest priority? But that's only going to take you so far. That's only going to take you so far. Modes will take you further. So Let's take a look at these resources. And again, if you have your resources in front of you, say yes in the chat. Say, yep, I got it in front of me. Okay. So the reason I gave you this is you need both of these resources to be able to say, okay, how am I going to leverage modes so that I can control my clock? Well, the first thing I want you to look at is the to-do list trigger checklist. Now, what's the most common thing that is at the front of every single one of those bullet points? It's one type of word, okay? It's one type of word. Can anyone in the chat describe? There you go, Carl. Verb, 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 verb. Verbs are the key to one element of modes that we're going to be talking about. Because what can happen with verbs is if you see constant verbs like schedule, 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 write, 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 research, 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 study, 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 pay, pay, pay. Those are a set of, for lack of a better term, those are modes, those are activity-based modes, which we'll get into. But those are pitches. You're going to be using those consistently. That might be, and we're going to get into this, that might be what you need. Those are triggers. And if any of you have ever read or listened to the work of Sean D'Souza, who runs Psychotactics, we need triggers. Triggers incite action. Your to-do list on your own does nothing. You need triggers. Without triggers, the to-do list is not going to get done. You need to have something that triggers it. And these things on your to-do list trigger checklist, these examples that I gave you, are things that could get missed in a lot of cases. I have to put the hoses away that are out in our yard right now because it is now fall and we don't need to water our lawn anymore. But I don't want to necessarily have to think about that all the time because that's the equivalent of the pitcher thinking about the guy on second base all the time and not focusing on the batter in front of them. I don't want to have to worry about that. I want to know exactly how that, I don't need to think about that. I need to think about that person in front of me right now. I need to think about the task at hand. But it doesn't mean I don't want to be aware of it. So I need my to-do list to say, hey, decide when to put hoses away, not put hoses away, because I may not want to do that at a given time. Decide when to put hoses away. That's something I need. You might not, I need that. All right? So the to-do list trigger checklist is for things that you might let slip through the cracks. They're the fundamentals, for lack of a better term. They're going to be the things that help you move your day forward. All right. The daily schedule we're going to look at here in a little bit because it's going to have a lot to do with energy. Okay? So let's talk about these categories of modes that I've discussed before. How many of you are familiar with the, I'll actually create a quick poll. How many of you are you familiar with mode-based work? And I've talked about, you can say yes in the chat if you want, but you can also say, no, I'm not. All right, so I'm going to create a poll for that as well, and you can answer that poll. All right, so what mode-based work is and what the categories of modes are is when you are looking at your to-do list has basically a set of several things, a minimum viable action. So you should have a verb, right? What's the thing that's going to get you to take action? And then the details, right? Like, okay, so buy milk. Great, you know what that is. But when you start using things like due dates, then you might not buy milk in time. Something might come up. The day might derail you. You can't buy milk. You might have it as a priority, but if you have too many priorities, then milk might get pushed right off the list. But if you start tagging or assigning modes to different tasks, then you can start to group those tasks together, right? So you can start to say, hey, let's use resource-based as an example. Your shopping is, the grocery store is a resource. You're going to go to the grocery store. You can look at the mode of grocery shopping or grocery store and say, here are all the things I need to do when I'm grocery shopping. Here are all the things I need to get, right? Or you could say, I buy milk when I'm tired because all my other main work is done and it doesn't take me much to go buy milk. Let me look at all the other things that I can do when I'm tired. And so you have a a tag or a mode called tired mode, which would be energy based. And then you could say, oh, let me look at all of my tasks that I can do when I'm tired. Oh, I can buy milk. I can review my Netflix queue. I can send an email to this lower level person that's not going to give me a bunch of grief, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how modes work. Modes are the way that you can control your clock because they are based on how you are feeling, where you are, what type of activities you want to do, how much time you have on hand, not the time of day. So now you can start to step back for that 30 to 60 seconds and ask yourself questions. Where am I right now? I'm at my desk. Okay. What are all the things I can do when I'm at my desk? Not, oh my God, it's 9 o'clock. What am I going to do at 9 o'clock? Because that will change, right? But the things you will do at your desk generally will stay the same. You may add things and subtract things, but the desk will always be there, right? Same thing with energy based. I need to prepare for a workshop. Okay, that's going to take high energy. All right. When do I have high energy right now? No, then I will not work on that. When do I have high energy? Later in the day? Great. That's where that, as I showed you before, that's where the daily schedule comes in, where you could say, you know, between 3 and 5 is when you have low energy. Maybe if you're an early morning person, that may be when you do low energy things. The high energy time might be earlier in the day. You may do that. That helps you. Because now you're asking yourself, not what do I need to do right now? It's what is my energy level at right now? You can answer that question. It's definitive. Kind of like when you're throwing a pitch as a pitcher, is it a ball or is it a strike? Activity based is, again, those verbs matter. And the only activity based stuff that's going to work for you are the verbs that you're using constantly, right? What kind of writing can I do right now? What kind of reading can I do right now? Oh, I'm going shopping. What's shopping? What can I do when I'm shopping? I'm phoning, calling, listening. All these things are activity based. So when you're in that mode, then you can do that stuff. Time based. It's near the end of the day. Oh my goodness, I have 5 minutes before I have to leave. What can I do in 5 minutes? Not, oh my goodness, it's 5 o'clock. What can I do at 5 o'clock? Because that's going to change. But things that will take you 5 minutes generally won't. You have a better chance of controlling your clock when you use modes. So, back to baseball. By the way, this is the Astros stadium, and I was an Astros fan. But then they did something. They cheated. And they are right now, that's why when Joe said earlier, he goes, go Rays. Yeah, go Rays. Because the Astros cheated and didn't play the game completely fairly. There's actually a new podcast series out called The Edge, which is from the guy who wrote the book on the Astros winning ways about how it all fell apart. So when you're looking at baseball, you have a starting pitcher and you have relief pitchers. How many of you are familiar with that concept? The idea of there's a starting pitcher, the pitcher that can throw ideally 5 innings or more, and then the pitchers who are relief pitchers who generally are asked to throw maybe a couple of innings. If you're familiar with that concept, say yep, or no. If you're not familiar, just let me know in the chat. So this matters when it comes to modes, and there's a reason for that. Because as I was telling you about these 5 categories of modes, one of the things that happens is that you don't necessarily know where to start. Which one's going to work for you? Which one is the best option? Are you more of an energy person? You're more of a theme-based person, which would apply to 26% of you because you use daily themes. Are you more of a time-based person? The starting pitcher is the one that will last the longest, ideally. Ideally, they will last the longest. And the relief pitchers are designed and put in place only to pitch a limited amount of innings. So what you need is you need a starting mode, so a starting category of mode that works best for you, and then the others act as relief modes, right? So if I'm looking at the categories of modes really quickly, I'll jump back to that slide. Whoop, now you can see me. Well, there you go. I'm going to look at my best starting mode category of all of these and say, well, which one makes the most sense? Which one is going to work the best for me on an ongoing basis? Game in, game out, day in, day out. Which one is going to be the best chance I have to win the day? And then the others act as relievers. This task, and I'll give you an example. We'll talk about this when we go through the exercise, but I'll give you a great example. This task, I can't decide if it's high energy or low energy. The starting mode doesn't work at that point. I need to pick a relief mode. Well, what kind of activity is it? Oh, it's researching. Okay, great. Let me look at that. Let me look at all the other tasks that are researching now. I'm shifting into that mode. That's what you need. So you need to be looking at having a starting mode and having relief modes. You can really only have one starting mode. One of those categories, theme-based, resource-based, energy-based, activity-based, time-based, is going to resonate with you the most. It's going to be your ace. It's going to be your Clayton Kershaw, your Tom Seaver, your best pitcher. That's what your one starting mode is. That's going to be the one you're going to want to put on the mound time and time again. That's the one you're going to want to use in your to-do list more often than not. That's going to be your Jimmy Key. That's my Jimmy Key. But the one question you need to ask yourself as we're going through this is, which mode will give me the best chance to win the day? Which one is going to let me control the clock, command that strike zone, do all that? Which one is going to be the one that if I look at my to-do list and I'm stuck or I'm feeling overwhelmed, I can say, hold on, let me take 30 seconds. Let me take 60 and say, okay, which one? How much time do I have? I have 5 minutes. Great. Let me look at my 5-minute tasks. And then, by the way, then you look at the other lenses. You go, oh, well, which 5-minute tasks are due sooner? Which 5-minute tasks are due as a higher priority? So it's giving you another way to look at your to-do list, a better way, one that captivates moments, that puts you in a state of qualitative productivity rather than quantitative productivity, just for that moment where you need it to be there. So which mode will give you the best chance to win? And by the way, that will change over time. You may start off with someone who says, you know what, time-based. I need those time-based modes because there I can count that. I know I can get 6 5-minute tasks done in 30 minutes. But then eventually you might say, you know what? I'm a writer and writing needs to be the thing I do the most. So activity-based is the one I should be looking at, but time is a great reliever. If you've ever watched baseball, you've seen some of it, especially right now in the playoffs. Some of the starting pitchers are now in the bullpen relieving. They're not pitching as many innings, but they're still valuable. They're still going to get some outs. They might even be more effective now because they're not pitching as many innings. Same thing with those modes. So that will change as well. I'm going to get to some of your questions here in a little bit. But first, I want to do an exercise. And while we're doing this exercise, I'll go through some of these comments in the chat. I don't think I'm seeing any questions here, but I'm seeing some comments. I want you to right now think about your day. Think about beyond your day. Think about the type of work you do, the type of life you lead, and which starting mode is going to give you the best chance to control your clock. Which one? Just pick one category. Theme-based, resource-based, energy-based, activity-based, time-based. We're going to do this right now. I'm going to give you some time to do it. And then we're going to move on to the next while we're doing this. So, and if you have questions or anything like that, put them in the chat and I'll help you out through this exercise. And I'll also give you my example too and how mine has evolved, because time crafting is all about evolution. All right, let's do it. Chase has a mode called GTD. And I like what you've done there, Chase, is you've taken the getting things done methodology and kind of you've encapsulated it in one mode. So there's a lot in there, right? And Lyndon, you're right. The starting mode is the one you default to. In fact, it's the one, yeah, it's the one that it's your ace. Yeah, exactly. So we're seeing some people here, some answers. That's great. Dennis has a nice 1-2 punch of energy and resource. And I think, Dennis, which one really quickly is the one that it's like the difference between having like two amazing starters on your team? Which one is the one that you pick? If you, it's the one that like, okay, at the end of the day, this is the one I pick. Pick one. Time-based, I think. Nina, you're probably right. If you haven't used modes before, time is probably going to be the one that you will default to because you can count it. You can quantify. You can go, okay, well, I have an hour. Let me look at how many 15-minute tasks I have. Let me see how many 5-minute, and then you start doing some productivity math, for lack of a better term, which is fine. What's interesting is that eventually you'll find I found, and for me, what happened is mine are energy based. That's my starter, but time based was. But then I realized that there's some elements of time based modes that lead to energy. 5-minute tasks often don't take a lot of energy for me, whereas 30-minute tasks do. So I leaned more into energy because the time-based ones were getting me checking off a bunch of boxes, but not always the right boxes. And yeah, so Lyndon's got a great point. Time-based rarely works so I don't like the 2-minute rule that we've heard with terms like getting things done in that, because 2 minutes often turns into 5. 5 is my low watermark. I have 5, 15, and 30. And I never choose a time over 30 because if it's going to take me longer than 30 minutes, then chances are the task is more of a project and I haven't broken it down to small enough particles. So I've got 5, 15, and 30. And normally it's a range like 0 to 5 minutes, 6 to 15, 16 to 30. I give myself a range there. I don't have any more than 3 increments of time because then all of a sudden your brain, it's like a pitcher only has about 4 or 5 pitches that they go to. They don't know 12 because they would forget, right? It's like one of the funny things that's happening right now is I'm working out. I'm doing a boxing program, and each of the punches has a number, and I'm missing up the numbers because it's new to me. I'm still, well, this is a 6. No, wait, this is. The brain can only do so much as it's learning, right? Location-based. So, Lottie, location would be a resource. Okay, so location would be like this. It's a person, place, or thing. So that's a resource. Like I need to be here to do this. Okay. Theme-based, yep, that's a lot of what I see. I use theme as a reliever, though, in some cases, especially right now during the uncertain world that we're in. Sometimes the daily themes don't jive. I keep them there, so I still have my daily themes. But like later today's my listening day. I've done 2 podcast interviews. That's enough. That's enough for me. That's plenty. The rest will be all related to energy, especially after I'm done this workshop. Because I've already done 2 interviews, one of which was, I did, they were great, actually. And then this, I'm going to be tired. It's going to be energy, right? Theme-based, yep. So I would say that theme-based is tricky. And we're going to do, the next workshop I'm going to be doing is Control Your Calendar. And I'll have links to that. You'll be invited to that workshop. If you're in Time Crafting Trust, of course, you've already gotten an invite. If you're a member of the newsletter, you'll get an email saying, hey, here's when the next workshop is. But activity-based, okay. So can I describe resource-based again? Resource, again, person, place, or thing. So some people will use a person because they want to please their superior. So they've got like the boss is a resource. So everything is like, okay, no matter what, the default is I need to do everything for the boss. So this is all for the boss. So I'm going to put that stuff as that's my driver. That's the starting mode because that's it. So it's a person, right? A place. I'm at home. That'd be a terrible mode for me right now because everything happens at home. But like so this iMac that I'm using right now is a resource. I only use it for things like video editing and hosting webinars and doing, things that I can't otherwise do on my iPad. That'd be a resource. So that's a place. It also could be a thing. So person, place, thing, those are resources. How to be more theme based? That's something I'm going to get to in the next workshop, Joe. This one's focused more on the modes because I think especially, and I found this more for myself as we've gone through this current era that we're in, where the world is more uncertain than ever, is that mode-based work is where a lot of people are having to lean into more because the days are much more dynamic than they used to be. We don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next, so leaning into that, right? It's funny, I was talking to Seth Godin just a couple hours ago for the podcast, and we were talking about certainty and how to be creative, and there's certain things that just still happen for him. They just still do. Maybe the subject matter changes, but his habits, his routines, his boundaries, they haven't changed all that much. Daily themes can help with that, but modes, they are designed to be attached to tasks that can be dynamic, because you can say, oh wow, I need to prepare for an interview with Seth Godin. That's high energy, but it's also nope, it's high energy, or it's researching, right? So it basically, what you want to do is attach those modes to tasks, because then when you're stuck, you don't go, well, what day is it? Well, the day's out of whack. Well, hold on. I'm a writer. I should do writing. What writing can I do, right? All right, let's keep going. Yes, it was really great. He's got a new book coming out called The Practice. I highly recommend it. So themes are a nice way to fit. And themes to me, again, they kind of, and we're going to talk about this next time, but themes are still a cornerstone of time crafting. But I find with mode-based work, we're in a much better place. All right, so let's move. So this is where we're at now. I want to move on to one more. Actually, we'll stick with this for a little bit more before we move on to one more thing. So let's take a look. Yeah, theme is a reliever. So let's see. What do we have here? We have. I'm looking at activity. So verbs, right? Verbs, activity, and adding an ing to it. What you can do with the great thing about activity-based modes, by the way, is if you're that person that's got this bad habit of not writing down like the verb in front of the item on the to-do list, it fixes that problem for you. So if you were to write down milk, what does that even mean? But if you were to put down shopping, well, I got to go shopping for milk. If shopping is the mode, right? If and I'm bad for this with writing, I have ideas that come. I actually have one that came to me yesterday while meditating, and it was, what if, and I'm not necessarily going to do this, but what if I was to muse, because I use the Muse headband, for 1 hour? What if I was to do that and just do a YouTube video of me musing? Like just me musing. I was going to title it like 1 hour of musing, and people are like, what's that? Because those tend to do pretty well. And I just wrote down 1 hour of musing, but then I put writing as the mode, right? So then I'm like, okay, what am I going to write about? Oh, writing. Oh, this is the thing. So it's a cheat in some respect, right? Let's see here. What else do we have? Theme-based, different theme depending on what day it is. That's great. Okay, if you are 2 hours of high energy, then okay. So let's say you have 2 hours of high energy, and this is from Dennis. And I run into that later in the day. I will go, how do I feel right now? I feel high. I feel like I've got a lot of energy. Okay. Then I look at my to-do list and go, okay, well, which ones is it priority level or is it due date? Then that's the next lens. So, oh, well, this is higher priority, and often it's based on maybe the monthly theme that I have or a project I'm working on. It'll be the thing I do next. If it's due date related, I'll look at that. But I have options, right? Because there's always high energy things to, I mean, let's face it, your to-do list is never going to be completely done. Your job is to navigate it, right? Is to make sure that you're doing it the best way possible, right? Because if we're using the baseball now, this game is going to go on for a long time. It was earlier mentioned, I think it was Ken that said, or Dean, one of them said, a baseball game can be ludicrously long. So if that's the way we're looking at it, the day can be that way. We just need to navigate it. We need to pitch around. Need to get through every single inning. Right? So that's what I would do. And then I like that, Kelly. You start with time-based, but energy stomps all over. Then just go with energy. because you can obviously qualify that low energy means low time stuff and high energy means high end stuff. All right, so now I want to move on to the next thing. So we've talked about control your clock. You guys have a sense of modes. I think that you're in a baseball is an excuse to do stats. I like this. I think it's a great place for you to start. But command is the next level of control. That's the next level. So earlier I mentioned that I was an Astros fan. How many of you, if you know who this is, let me know in the chat. He looks rather evil. I chose this picture on purpose because the Astros are being viewed as baseball villains right now. No, he does kind of look like Jim Carrey, though, Dean. It's Zach Greinke. He was acquired last year at the trade deadline by the Houston Astros, and everyone else wanted him. He went to the Astros, and he's an older pitcher. He's been around for a while, but he is a great pitcher, and there's a reason, because he's got great command. Pitchers with good command have the talent to place their pitches anywhere they want within the strike zone, and they're able to not just throw strikes, but throw good strikes. If you ever watch a pitcher in a baseball game, and it's like you've got like some of the older pitchers or some of the pitchers that have been pitching for a long time, they are just putting the ball in places. They're toying with the hitters. The hitters don't know what to do. You know, you've got like Nolan Ryan. All these hitters are swinging, or they're not swinging, and they can't believe that the pitcher's hitting the strike zone. They're totally baiting them. These older pitchers. I mean, look at that look. He knows he has command of the strike zone. He knows he has command of his pitches. So it's one step beyond. Command is like a subset of control, right? This is command. You want to go from controlling your clock to commanding the clock. And this is how to go from control to command. There's one way. You can practice control on a routine basis. And as I'm seeing here, some people are like, hey, you know what? I have time-based modes. I have this, I energy-based, theme-based, I'm going to practice using the same pitches, I'm going to try to hit the strike zone every single day. Gain experience with control in different forms of chaos. So now you're seeing, and again, pitchers face different batters, different teams in different environments, in different leagues. They move on to a different team. Now they're facing completely different people. So you gain experience, and that only happens with time. So you're doing the same thing. You're gaining experience. Now you've got different forms of chaos in front of you. And then, that was right, Rick, it was Zach Greinke. Then you spend time learning different ways to control. So they're learning new pitches. Maybe the fastball that Randy Johnson used to throw, he can't throw it anymore. So now he's learning a new pitch. But he still knows how to get in the strike zone because he's got control. So you're spending time learning different ways to control. This is how to go from control to command. But there's another way. There's another way to do this, and this isn't just talking about pitching. We're now talking about time crafting. I can help you command your clock. If you want to, and this is where I believe that having a good battery mate, which would be the catcher, having a good pitching coach, having good teammates, all of that can happen. In Time Crafting Trust, we have a bunch of people in there that are helping each other out. We're seeing it happen here in the chat today. But I can help you command your clock. And I want to help you as we get close to the end of this year, especially in a year where the year is very uncertain. I mean, we want to talk quickly about baseball again. That season is far from the way. Every sport has changed. A lot of things have changed. So what I did was I created something called, the theme is dumpster fire. What I created is something called Time Crafting Turbo Coaching. I've created this specifically for people who want to go from controlling their clock or even just start having a better handle of control first to command. And that's what I'm offering you today. Okay. So Time Crafting Turbo Coaching includes one 30-minute one-on-one coaching session with me, no one else. You're going to get a recording of a session, whether it's audio and video. We like to do video. That way you see me. And then there's a recap email sent within 24 hours of our session. If any of you have done tailored time crafting coaching with me before, you know this. Normally there's 60 minutes, but this is turbo. It's 30. We're going to focus specifically on commanding your clock. And accountability follow-ups within 2 weeks of our session. That's what happens. That usually is valued at $250 for a 30-minute session. But as you would expect, I'm including some bonuses. It is not similar to 30 days of time crafting. There's a little bit of difference here, Zoe, because I'm giving you one-on-one video time. But here are the bonuses. So with Turbo Coaching, you're getting a Productivityist playbook for $49. That's a value. So you're going to have that resource. It comes with an EPUB version of the book, a PDF, has all the plays that have been produced so far, has some bonus audio, some video, and also the Now Your Action Plan, which is something that you may want heading into this next year, is how to plan the year you want anytime you want. Get started now. November, maybe, is how you might want to start. It's $199 value. Again, there's an ebook, there's videos, there's a whole bunch. It's a comprehensive course. But there's something else here. You got like these question marks. Further accountability, follow-ups over the next 90 days. So you'll get the 2 weeks, then you get 30 days, then you get 60 days, then you get 90 days. That's as long as the baseball season, I believe, lasted. So the value of the bonuses is over $248. I don't offer that accountability to any of my other coaching clients unless they're booking more than one session or they're working with me annually. So I'm going to give you all this for $99. And there's a reason. There's a big reason for that. Number one is I want to help you. I want to help you command your clock. I want you to be able to embrace time crafting. Maybe you've taken the 30 days of time crafting course for $5 and you're like, you know what, I need more. Maybe you've taken this workshop and you're like, you know what, I want to get a better handle on themes. Joe was talking about that. Maybe you want to help you figure out what your primary, your starting mode is, but then you want to know what relievers you should put out there next. Should it be time? Should it be resource? What should it be? But also, I know we're all in a situation where, there's a lot of uncertainty, not just uncertainty of where our time is going, but where our money's going. And I want to be able to help people. And I want to be able to help people at a price that they can afford. And I believe that this is a great value. So you're going to get $500 worth of products and services for just $99. Okay? All you need to do is click on the offer link below. Oh, by the way, if you're Time Crafting Trust members, you'll get a deeper discount. And I've got that for you inside the membership community. So if you're a member of Time Crafting Trust, you'll see that come up. So don't click on that link because there's a deeper discount if you're a member of Time Crafting Trust. Okay? This offer, by the way, is only for the first 20 people because I can only handle so many. And actually, if you think about it, starting pitcher basically pitches about 6 to 7 innings. That's about 7 innings worth of outs. So that's a full go for me. Might be able to pitch a complete game every once in a while, which is 9 innings, but I want to give people the value and the attention that they deserve. So only 20 people. And then the other thing is that there's a limited time on this offer as well, because I want to make sure I line everything up before the year comes to an end. And it doesn't mean that you have to use it before October 16th, but at 11:59 p.m., that's when the offer expires. Yes, for Time Crafting Trust members, it'll be an email sent to you in about 9 minutes. I've scheduled that already. So that'll come to you in a few minutes and you'll have that. But if you're not a Time Crafting Trust member, this is something you're going to want to take advantage of. If you're a Time Crafting Trust member, you're going to want to as well. But this is it, just $99. All you need to do is click on the offer link below or go to productivityist.com/turbo. Again, this is only for 20 people and only available till Friday. I want to help you. I want to be able to help you command your clock. Go from control to command. That's what I want you to be able to do. Okay? So, one more thing. I think that's it. That's it. Thanks for coming. I'll see you later. I have time for questions. If you want to ask some questions, I'll leave this screen up so that if you have any questions or in the chat, please let me know. I want to make sure that I answer anything and everything I can, either about this offer or about the workshop itself. Dean, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And thanks for getting me on that Cyrillic thing. Rick, thanks so much. I really had a great time doing this. I'm going to do more workshops. The next workshop will be Control Your Calendar. And again, if this is something that interests you, please make sure that I'll put it in the chat real quick so that way you've got it. It's productivityist.com/ should have had that cut and pasted, but instead, I'm glad you like the baseball analogy, Joe. And by the way, I still have this book, the Astro Ball book. But now I'm using it as a cautionary tale as opposed to a model for a mental model for people to follow. So if, again, any questions at all, any further thoughts? If you do, great. If you have any questions about the offer, let me know. If you want to know more about why I'm a Blue Jays fan, actually, John Olerud, this is a John Olerud jersey. I have my brother got this for me for my birthday because I moved back to my Canadian roots. So if there's no questions or anything, then you're not finding the resources. Okay, Nina, I will make sure I email them to you. I will make sure that they come your way. I think that there was I'll make sure that you get a Podia link, okay? Because all the resources are in Podia. And if you don't have, actually, let me go in there real quick while I'm sitting in here, because if you've already got it, then it should be there. Let me just jump there real quick, so that way, view as visitor, you should be able to log in using this link here. I'm going to drop that in there. Okay. That's really strange that no one had access to it, because if you signed up for it, then it should have given you access. Nonetheless, I'll make sure that everybody that's attended the webinar. Oh, Chase, have fun. It's raining here. So, okay, I'm glad, Connie, you had access. We'll see. I'll see if I can give you guys the access. And by the way, if that doesn't work, I'll figure out another way to get it to you. But if you had any, by the way, if you had any problems getting access, there, just email me. Thanks, Chase. I appreciate that. People know how I feel about that. I've been pretty public about my stance on that too. Shouldn't, Joe, if you registered for it using the coupon code as well, you're a member, so you shouldn't have had to do that. If you're logged into Podia, it shouldn't ask you for anything. But I'll make sure that you get access to it. If you're a Time Crafting Trust member, I can just add it, the Control Your Clock, to the things that you have, which is very easy to do. And that might have been something that that got missed, but I will add it to it now, just so that way you've got it. Always the little bit of idiosyncrasies as the thing runs to, as we run close to yep, there it is. Okay. Every Time Crafting Trust member now has access. There you go. That's what it was. Time Crafting Trust, I will send that. Let me see if I can send that to you. Time Crafting Trust is my membership community. So it is, I'll put that in the chat as well if you've already, and it basically is my membership community that allows you to, or I'll drop that in the chat. You get access to a bunch of courses. For example, the people that are already Time Crafting Trust members have access to the Productivity's Playbook and the Now Your Action Plan. They don't have access to coaching unless it's like a discounted offer. But you get access to a bunch of different programs. You're part of a community. We're still in the infancy of the program, but it's my membership site that I'm going to be focusing, and I have been focusing more on over the last couple months, and it's going to be one of the bigger focuses. So Carl, there's the link to that as well. But again, if you were a member before today, you get access to the that'll give you access to the coupon code. If you remember after today, then you have to use the you'll still get the Time Crafting Turbo at the $99 value. I think that's it for today. I think are we at the well, we got 3 more minutes. I'll stick around for 3 more minutes. Anybody else have any? And Joe, I know what happened. It was me. I didn't have it checked off. Control Your Clock was the one thing I forgot to do, was make sure it was available to Time Crafting Trust members. So, and sidebar, if you're a Time Crafting Trust member and you're one of the pioneers, the stuff that I set out for people to order is arriving, I believe, today. If not today, then tomorrow. So I've got some mailing to do for all the pioneers. So if those of you that are still around. Oh, Carl, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks. And there's more stuff coming. I'm going to be updating. There's going to be updates to the Night Owl Action Plan, updates to going to be doing an email program. Lots of interesting things are coming down the pipeline. And some of them will only be for Time Crafting Trust members. For example, this Friday I have a call. It's calling it biweekly breakouts, and it's kind of a focused work session on Friday. So that's happening this Friday for Time Crafting Trust members. Yes, I will be busy. Yeah, no, Joe. We might have some issues. It depends. Sending from Canada to the U.S. it could take some time. It depends. Thanks so much, Lyndon. I really appreciate it. And Carl, thanks so much. Dean, the Shamrocks. I don't even know if we're playing right now because of the pandemic. They are getting the arena ready for Victoria Royals hockey, though. So, but yeah, there's lots of interesting stuff. So good question. The turbo coaching can be scheduled anytime after January 1st. So you do not have to book it between now and the deadline. You're going to have access to that link. It comes in a PDF. You can book it at any time. I'll know who's purchased it. So if you haven't booked it, I'll send you a reminder so that way you know that you still have the session, but there's no pressure to book it before January 1st. We're basically heading into the busiest time of year for a lot of people, especially considering, the Thanksgiving holiday just passed here. We know that the Thanksgiving holiday is coming up in the United States fairly soon. I believe there's an election happening here in British Columbia in a couple of weeks. I already voted by mail. I think my wife did as well. There's an election happening in the United States in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. There's lots going on. So no, I don't expect people to be like, oh, you got to have it in by a certain time. Thanks so much. I really appreciate everybody for taking the time. And again, yes, if you're interested, the coaching offer is available only until Friday. So make sure that you take advantage of it while you can. I'll make sure to send another reminder for those of you that were attending, as well as those of you who are watching the recording. Make sure you don't miss it. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care. And I really appreciate you stopping by. See you later.